Yo, what is up guys, it Ghost here, welcome back to another video, and in today's, we've got a lot of stuff to cover. We have new gameplay from Battlefield 6's brand new Manhattan map. We've also got a couple of screenshots of Sobeek City, which is, again, another map we haven't seen yet, and then we've got some new cosmetic footage to go over as well that has been leaked out, it looks like, by a Asian data miner over on Bilibili. So without further ado, as always, if you guys enjoy the content here on the channel, don't forget to hit that sub button to stay up to date with everything Battlefield 6. Thank you guys, as always, so much for the support, and let's just jump in here. So you'll have noticed by now that in the background, we have some new footage, and this was taken directly from the Tokyo Game Show. A bunch of Asian streamers sat down together, and they had around an hour to play the new Manhattan Bridge map, which is, of course, the other one set in Manhattan to go alongside with the Empire State map, but I'm sure most of you played in the open beta. Now, I did have to mute the sound on this one because they did it like commentary style and it was all in Japanese, so I figured that would be quite off-putting. But if you do want to go and watch it with the original audio, I will link this footage down below as well. But first impressions here, I think this map actually looks really, really cool. This is one of the few that's actually going to have an attack helicopter on it, but it's not going to have any jets. And for that reason, it sort of gives me like Siege of Shanghai or Operation Dawnbreaker vibes, which I think is a really nice size of map to have in a Battlefield game. If we take a look at the overall structure of the map here for a second, you see it's a 5-flag map, and it's very, very symmetrical. So you've got this central C flag, which looks like it's either below or on top of a skyscraper. And I remember from the beta, a lot of you were saying, you know, Ghost, what do you think about like the fact that there's no verticality to most of the maps? If we can indeed get up on top of this C flag, I think that is going to sort of answer that question. This is not by any means a huge map. I think it's sort of similar in size to maybe Liberation Peak, that again we played in the beta, which was definitely not one of the biggest maps we've seen in Battlefield, but it does look like it's going to deliver a nice mix of urban combat with some helicopter gameplay, though you are going to be weaving in and out of these buildings, again, much like we did back in the BF4 days on maps like Dawnbreaker and Siege of Shanghai. Now, so far, there are only 2 maps that we haven't seen any footage of them, and one of them is Saints Quarters, which is, of course, the other map set on Gibraltar, and that one is slated to be infantry only. The other is New Sobek City, and whilst I don't have any gameplay to show you guys, Battlefield did just post an interesting screenshot, and they said here, the cranes rise, the dunes shift, the heat bites, New Sobek City turns Cairo's outskirts into a battlefield of tanks, choppers, and all-out war. So again, no jets on this one, it sounds like, but this is the shot they posted, and within that shot, we can see here, if we zoom in a little bit, the flag layout for this map. So it looks to be a little bit more linear than, let's say, the Manhattan Bridge map there. Kind of reminds me of Mirak Valley, but this one is almost certainly smaller. We can also see that there are 2 helicopters on this map. There is an IFV, there is a tank, and there is, I think, an AA tank there as well, and then a couple of jeeps for transportation. So it's by no means, again, the biggest map in the game. I would definitely say that this is a mid-sized map, along with Manhattan Bridge, along with maps like Liberation Peak, and by far, the 2 largest maps in the game are then going to be Mirak Valley and Operation Firestorm that we saw some gameplay out of a few weeks ago. We've of course already seen a decent amount of concept art for this map, and basically all the buildings on it are under construction, and for that reason it sort of reminds me a little bit of Gulf of Oman. It's clear that it is going to offer up a certain amount of verticality once again there, so for those of you who've been looking for that, I'm sure you're going to find some of it here. As for how it's actually going to play, I guess we'll just sort of have to wait and see. I do have to say, I feel like there really needs to be one just absolutely like huge map. I feel like the community are really calling for that. Like, I know Mirak Valley is pretty big. I know Operation Firestorm is pretty big. I've played both of them, and I didn't really feel like they were, you know, that huge, to be honest with you. So I do still feel like there is room in Battlefield 6 for just a really chunking, massive map with like 8 flags on it and a bunch of vehicles, like proper all-out warfare. Maybe they'll have to make it conquest only, but I think that'll be okay. Okay, next on the agenda, let's talk about Battlefield 6 weapon cosmetics. Now, I'm almost certain that the video here is a leaked video, and for that reason, I won't put it in this video. I will link it down below because it's over on Reddit. This is from Bilibili, which, if you don't know, is kind of like the Chinese YouTube. And so for those reasons, like, I'm pretty sure this has been leaked out, and it's detailing a lot of the cosmetics that are going to be available, presumably in the full release of the game. So if you guys want to go and take a look at it and then come back here and let me know what you think, feel free to do so. My initial thoughts are that the weapon skins, I think they look fine. I don't think they go too over the top. It's pretty much what I expected. Like, they've got some colors. There is a shotgun with a lot of gold on it. That might kind of piss some people off. There's an M4A1 with gold on it, and it's got like a skull built into it. That may be, encroaching a little bit too far into silly territory for a lot of purists, let's say. But on the other hand, these skins, like, maybe it's just me, but they don't really make me want to open up my wallet and part with my hard-earned cash. Maybe I'm just at that age or something that I don't really care about cosmetics. I used to have this conversation with my wife yesterday because she was buying a Mercy skin in Overwatch, and I sort of said, wow, like, what a waste of money, but it made her happy, right? So maybe I'm just the wrong target audience for that, or maybe these skins just aren't really doing it for me, and they're not encouraging me, to want to actually part with my cash. Again, let me know what you think down below, guys. Sorry I can't show it you here in the video. If I could, I would, but them's the breaks. So yesterday we saw some new videos come out of DICE and also a few content creators detailing Portal 2.0, or Battlefield 6's version of Portal, how they're planning to improve it, and just what's going to be possible within it. And the trailer mostly showcased, I would say, like, kind of silly game modes where you're, climbing up the tower. I think it's called On Top of the World. You had another one where you were flying like jets through some circles. Like, they're pretty arcadey experiences, and honestly, I don't see myself really playing any of those sorts of experiences more than once, or occasionally just to fool around if I'd have a group of friends. But for the most part, anything super arcadey like that, you're probably just going to go back to Conquest and back to Breakthrough and the regular game modes that you already know. No, what I'm interested in is, can the community concoct some really interesting game modes, or even better, some really cool looking maps? And I think the answer to that question is sort of maybe. So we do have some more details here coming out of Battlefield Bulletin, and he says DICE says that Battlefield 6's Portal Builder will be a learning curve for players, and therefore they will provide a few introductory guides for players to get their feet wet, as well as several modes to learn from and tinker with. However, if you have already experienced as a creator, the builder won't include a blank canvas map to make whatever you want at launch, but it's coming sometime after release, as Battlefield Studios is still putting the final touches on it. So that is actually really exciting. So what they're saying here is that the map editing functionality here on release is basically going to be that you load up a map. Let's say you take Liberation Peak, and then as far as I understand it, you can take the assets within that map, maybe add assets into it from other maps, move them around, put them wherever you want, and as we've seen in the trailer, you could make this giant tower of scaffoldings and staircases and climb up to the top of it, or really do what you like, but you can't like terraform the entire map, and there's no height map changing and things like that. But it does sound like they're planning to do that. They're planning to add in a blank canvas where anybody will be able to make their own maps, and I think when that happens, that's when the map making community out there, the modding community, are really going to come alive and make some super interesting experiences for us. And honestly, I can't wait until it happens, because I just know that there are so many talented people doing this sort of stuff in the community. So official creations that are similar to Battlefield's core gameplay loop, like 24/7 Rush or Hardcore Conquest, will grant the same amount of progression as if they were playing regular multiplayer modes, while creations that diverge from the traditional Battlefield formula will reward experience depending on how much time is spent in it, which decreases the risk for exploits. Every single player who owns a copy of Battlefield 6 will be able to host one server and leave it active without requiring any input. So this sounds a lot to me like the same way it worked in Battlefield 2042. I've seen many people online spreading this around and saying like, wow, what a huge win, we're going to have persistent servers. And I've sort of been scratching my head saying, well, we had persistent servers in Battlefield 2042 as well. Like, you could make a server and have it persistent so that when you left the server, it didn't go offline. So that's really nothing new, and I don't know why people are just starting to realize that now. However, I do think you needed, like, the premium battle pass within Battlefield 2042 to get access to that, whereas in BF6, everybody's going to have access to it. So that is obviously a bit of a game changer there in and of itself. As for the experience gained in the modes, that again sounds similar to the way it worked in 2042. So if you had a largely unchanged or traditional mode, you would get full experience. If you change some things, you would have modified experience. And if you change a lot of things, too many things, you would then have restricted experience. And the way that it worked is that you could only accrue a certain amount of experience every minute. Once you hit that experience cap, which I think was 300 experience within that 60-second window, you then had to wait till those 60 seconds were up before you could accrue another 300 experience. And it sounds like that is the same sort of system they're going to go with for BF6 here, where, you know, it depends how much time you actually spend in the game. Oh yeah, before I forget, guys, for anybody who is still playing Battlefield 2042 and you're working towards unlocking those skins for Battlefield 6, there is triple XP live right now, and it's going to continue throughout the weekend. So if you still need to grind a bit out and maybe the missions for all of the weeks aren't quite going to cut it, now would be the time to do that. Obviously, if you have the time to do it, and if you can be bothered to do it and the rest of it, luckily for me, I'm finished with the Battle Pass so far, so I've just kind of been taking some time to play other games, but I will be doing a final live stream, I think, of Battlefield 2042, probably the day before BF6 releases, and we will do a ceremonial uninstall of the game, just to sort of celebrate the fact that we're moving on from that chapter and into, hopefully, what are going to be brighter days ahead for the Battlefield franchise. As always, guys, if you enjoy the content here on the channel, don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with everything around Battlefield 6. Leaving a like down below is always appreciated if you enjoyed the video or you found it informative. And as always, have a great day. I'll see you all in the next one.